Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to take you on a literary journey across time, a conversation between two poets, two voices, and two very different views of love. But first, let me introduce you the members of Group Denmark. In 1599, Christopher Marlowe published one of the most beloved lyric poems in English literature, The Passionate Shepherd's to His Love. Shortly after, Sir Walter Raleigh responded with The Nymph Replies to the Shepherd, a poem that directly challenges Marlowe's romantic vision. At first glance, these two poems appear to be a simple love story and its rejection, but when read together, they reveal something far deeper, a fundamental philosophical debate between idealism and realism, between the desire to believe in a perfect, timeless love and the wisdom to see the world as it truly is. Today, I will analyze both poems through the lens of this station, idealism versus realism, exploring how language, imagery, and structure are used by each poet to construct and deconstruct the myth of perfect love. Before diving into the poems, it is important to understand their context. Both Marlowe and Raleigh were writing in the Elizabethan era, a period celebrated for its flourishing of poetry, theater, and art, but also defined by the social hierarchy, political instability, and the passage of time. The pastoral tradition, a literary genre that idealized rural life as simple, innocent, and beautiful, was enormously popular during this period. Marlowe's poem belongs squarely within this tradition. The shepherd, the meadows, the flowers, these are the classic symbols of pastoral poetry, evoking a world of perfect harmony and eternal spring. Raleigh's poem, however, dismantled this fantasy by giving voice to the nymph, the woman to whom the shepherd speaks. Raleigh introduced realism, the awareness that time passes, flowers fade, and promises may endure. Raleigh survives the winter of age and hardship. Let us begin with Marlowe. The poem opens with one of the most famous invitations in English literature. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasure prove. The valleys, groves, hills, and fields, wood or sleepy mountain hills. The shepherd's appeal is built entirely on sensual pleasure and abundance. He offers his beloved a world of beauty, beds of roses, a cup of flowers, gowns of finest wool. Every stanza adds another gift, another promise. What is striking is that the shepherd's world exists outside of time. There's no mention of winter, of age, and of hardship. The pleasure is described as presented as permanent, as if spring will never end and beauty will never fade. This is the essence of idealism, the belief that love can exist in a perfect and changing state. Marlowe reinforces this through his language. The poem is written in rhyming couplets with a light musical rhythm, almost like a song. This formal beauty mirrors the emotional beauty the shepherd promises. The world he describes is harmonious, orderly, and enchanting. The shepherd, of course, is also making a profoundly emotional argument. His gifts are not merely material, they represent devotion, creativity, and desire. He is saying, I will build a world for you. I will make every moment beautiful. This is idealism at its most powerful. Not naivety, but the courage to imagine perfection and offer it to another person. And yet, the nymph is not persuaded. Raleigh's poem responds to Marlowe's invitation stanza by stanza, and in doing so, it is systematically dismantle each promise. The nymph's opening sets the tone immediately. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures make me move, live with thee and be thy love. Notice the conditional if. The nymph does not reject the shepherd's love outright. Rather, she identifies its fundamental flaw. It depends on conditions that do not exist in the real world. The world is not eternally young. Truth is not guaranteed. And time, relentless time, changes everything. Raleigh then turns each of Marlowe's images on its head. Where the shepherds offer flowers, the nymph reminds us that flowers wither. Where the shepherds promise soft beds of roses, the nymph stays torn. Whereas Marlowe's poem exists in perpetual spring, Raleigh's poem is haunted by autumn and winter. But time drives flocks from fields to fold, when rivers rage and rocks grow cold. The language here is strikingly different from Marlowe's, whereas Marlowe used soft, melodic sounds, Raleigh grooves, hills, and fields. Raleigh's language is harder, more abrupt, rage, cold, wither, forgotten. These words carry the weight of experience and loss. This is realism, not cynicism, but clarity. The nymph is not saying that love is worthless. She is saying that love built on illusions, on promises that ignore the reality of time, cannot survive. A love that depends on eternal spring will perish in the first winter. Raleigh gives the nymphs intellectual authority and emotional depth. She is not passive, she is thoughtful, articulate, and wise. In the literary traditions, when women were often objects of the male's poetic gaze, idolized muses rather than speaking subject, the nymph's voice itself in a form of power. When we place these two poems side by side, several striking contrasts emerge. First, consider time. For Marlowe's shepherd, time does not exist. Its world is frozen in a perpetual present of beauty and desire. For Raleigh's nymph, time is the central reality of human life. It is the force that undoes all promises, fetters all beauty, and reveals all illusions. Second, consider language and tone. Marlowe's shepherds speak with warmth, enthusiasm, and confidence. His tone is that of a man who genuinely believes in what he offers. Raleigh's name speaks with measure, almost melancholic wisdom. She does not mock the shepherd, she mourns the impossibility of what he offers. Third, and perhaps most importantly, consider the nature of love itself. Marlowe presents love as a gift, something the shepherd can construct and offer. Raleigh presents love as a test, something that must survive the passage of time, the fading of beauty, and the inevitable arrival of hardship. These are not just two poems, they are two philosophies, and interestingly, both contain truth. Idealism reminds us of love's capacity to inspire and elevate. Realism reminds us that love, to endure, must be grounded in something deeper than beauty or pleasure. Together, Marlowe and Rayleigh give us a complete picture of love's complexity, its beauty and its fragility, its promise and its limits. In conclusion, the passionate shepherd to his love and the nymph replies to the shepherd represent one of the most elegant dialogues in English literary history. Through the contrast between idealism and realism, these two poems explore the timeless human experience of love, its intoxicating beauty, and its inevitable confrontation with reality. Marlowe gives us the dream, Raleigh gives us the awakening, and together they raise a question that remains as relevant today as it was in the Elizabethan era. Is love more powerful when it's there to imagine the impossible, or when it is brave enough to face the truth? Perhaps the answer lies not in choosing one over the other, but in holding both together by learning to love with the shepherd's passion and the nymph wisdom. Thank you for listening.